Hey everybody, it's Dr. Will Cole. We're live here in our Functional Medicine Health Center where we see patients around the world via webcam consultation, either via Skype or FaceTime or Google Chat. 80% of our patients are in other states and countries, and 20% of our lovely patients are here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. For those of you who haven't been joining us Tuesday afternoons on the East Coast. We have been doing these Tuesdays at 2 p.m., now 2:30 p.m. It gets pushed back because we're busy with other things. But we've been talking about different functional medicine health topics, different wellness, like buzz things that people want to learn about and dig into, different health tips. And we've also been having my friends in the wellness world. And today we have a very dear friend of mine, V, PaleoBOSS lady extraordinaire, to join us today to tell us about her wellness journey, about health. So for those of you who do not know about functional medicine, before we get into it, check our previous videos to learn about functional medicine. If we talk about functional medicine and you don't know what it is, check back on the previous videos. But V, thanks so much for being a part of this Facebook Live.
I'm so excited. You know how much I love anytime you and I get to chat. And this is just great. I really appreciate you inviting me to share sort of my story.
Oh, it's my pleasure. V and I were just in Iowa the other day at our friend Terry Wall's event, big event. Lots of lovely people there. And we both got to speak there about different things, and it was great catching up with you.
It was awesome. The event was awesome. I'll be on a high from that event till next year's event, literally.
Yeah, it's a beautiful event, beautiful people for sure. So tell people your journey in wellness, and you could write literally a best-selling book in a second, like the colorful life you've led, but just tell people what you've been through and brought you into the wellness world and kind of the journey you've been on.
Okay, well, I'm 54 years old and proud to be. And when I was 23 years old, I lost feeling on the left side of my body. It felt like almost in an afternoon. And it was actually the day after I received the hepatitis vaccine, which is a whole nother Facebook Live. But initially, we weren't really sure what had happened, and they went back and forth. They did CAT scans, saw some spots. It was before MRIs, thought it was a brain tumor. About 6 months later, I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, relapsing remitting multiple sclerosis. And I'm not going to lie, the only thing they told me was don't go out in the sun, don't get pregnant. Always wanted to be a mom, was raised at the beach, didn't listen to them, got pregnant. And for 10 years, my body went back to normal. I almost felt like I didn't have MS and that they really didn't know what they were talking about. Until 1996, when I did go out in the sun and I did overheat, and it triggered debilitating attacks, and which actually brought my MS in the course of from 1996. By 2001, I was declared legally disabled due to the effects of MS on my body, which manifested in me in bilateral loss of both my hands. So, you know, on a good day, I could use my hands to feed myself, dress myself, and use the ladies' room. But most of the time I could do things like one time, like I could shake your hand if I met you. But then if I went to shake your adorable son's hand, who I just got to meet this weekend, my hand would have less ability to follow commands. And by the third hand, it would get what we call rigid. So my hands would just get stuck in either an open or closed position, and I wouldn't really have the ability to unstuck them. So that's how I lost the use of my hand. I still had no feeling on the left side of my body. I lived in constant pain, and I had developed what I called involuntary limb jumping, mainly of my right leg and my right arm, where they would just sort of flail around, preventing me really from being able to drive long before I got rigid in my hands, because my foot and my leg would often jolt and I would have no warning and or control, and I was afraid I would hit, you know, the gas or the brake and then kill someone, if not myself. So it manifested in me to the point where my life was unbearable. I was on 24 different medications. I had been injecting with interferon, beta seron for 19 years, was spending about $37,000 a year on out-of-pocket healthcare costs. Marriages had ended, and I was completely desperate. until I discovered functional medicine.
So you found wellness, and kind of most of our patients have autoimmune issues or other autoimmune inflammation issues. And that's why, like, hearing you, when I was actually not in Iowa, we were in Austin a couple months ago, and like hearing you say how long it took you, who lives and breathes wellness, once you learn what to do. Most of our patients aren't as compliant as you are and dedicated as you are. And tell them your introduction into wellness and this journey and how long it took you to get, because a lot of people get discouraged. It's like, I'm not where I want to be. And they're like a couple months in. Kind of tell them your journey there into wellness.
I'm so grateful you asked that, because I think that's probably the biggest shocking part of the story, not even my miracle journey. I actually started just from the very beginning. I started using, and this is in the mid 80s, essential oils. So I started using holistic treatments quite early, in addition to traditional healthcare. So I was using essential oils. I started doing yoga, went on to become a certified yoga instructor. I started studying Buddhism and doing silent meditative retreats and all that. So by the time 2011 came, when I was completely desperate, then I started looking at food as medicine once I saw Dr. Terry Wall's Minding Your Mitochondria TEDx. Not that I hadn't tried food before. I had tried Swank Diet, which is a protocol for MS. I tried Pritikin, I did vegan, I was vegetarian. And although those things maybe helped me lose some weight, gave me a little more energy, did nothing really to help MS. So I saw Dr. Wall's TEDx, and here she is going from a tilt reclining wheelchair to walking, and just started doing exactly what she said. And my healing at that point, once I plugged food in, really escalated. But the journey still took a long time, meaning that I started officially January 1st of 2012, and pain started to leave my body within the month of January. But it wasn't until a year, not the first July of 2012, July of 2013, that I was able to move independently on my own, but I was still barely driving. I was still able to use my hands, but like I couldn't take clothes from the washer to the dryer. I couldn't lift to empty the trash. I still had a lot of disabilities, but I was able to perform basic functions of being able to live. My left side didn't wake up until 2.5 years of following the protocol very strict and doing yoga and meditating every day. And then my microbiome didn't heal until about 4.5 years into very strict following the protocol. And we know that the only way to know that is by your pill. And it's a pretty simple way to tell. So it took 4.5 years, and I'm talking strict, never cheating, never making a mistake, never deviating from the script. So it did take a long time, but it didn't feel like a long time to me, because I kept getting little signs that I was on the road to healing, where I had been sick for 25 years, so 5 years to totally almost reverse every symptom to the 25 years didn't seem so long, personally.
Yeah, and that's like such a message of hope for people that, whether they're patients of ours or just going through this autoimmune inflammation journey of just being discouraged and thinking, is there any end in sight? During this journey that you had, this 2 years, 3 years, 4 years journey into health, were you on medications at this point? What happened with the meds at that point?
Well, as symptoms started to leave, I started to stop taking the medications that I was taking for the symptoms. And people should know, I have multiple sclerosis, I have Hashimoto's, I have Epstein-Barr, and I have adrenal issues. So as many of us with autoimmune, we have more than one. So I'm dealing with a whole bunch of stuff. So I worked with functional medicine doctors to test my saliva and to test my blood work, to really hone in on, where I needed some extra help, what I wasn't getting from food. And then once we were able to sort of, maximize supplements, foods, things like that, then I started being able to go off medications one by one. The hardest medications for me to go off of, the ones that took the longest, were muscle relaxants, because I did have a lot of severe spasming. And then also I had taken Wellbutrin to quit cigarette smoking, 6 years ago. And that was the hardest drug for me to take off, because I kept having anxiety crashes. And a lot of issues from that. But other than that, all the other ones were really medications I was taking due to the side effects of disease-modifying drugs for MS.
So what would you tell somebody that's going through this and they're overwhelmed. Some people can get, and we talked about this in Los Angeles, we keep seeing each other in different cities.
So grateful.
About some people aren't ready to hear the message, and they get kind of mad at the fact that they can do something about their health. What would you say to somebody that's on the fence about them, even the possibility of them even reclaiming their health?
Well, there are a few things. The first thing is that the most important part of my journey was I started to understand everything I did in my life. I got conscious about everything, like why we eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner, why I wake up with an alarm clock, although it scares the bejesus out of me, and things like that. So I got conscious, and I also started to, for the first time, learn how to love myself. So this journey, if it's driven by self-respect and self-love and consciousness in life, then it doesn't seem like a journey of deprivation. It seems like a journey of empowerment. So I come at this not like, oh, I miss pasta and pizza. I come at this like, I cannot believe that the manufacturers of this stuff knew exactly what they were doing. And it took 25 years of my life and my entire life savings and the inability for me to go to all of my daughter's shows when she was growing up and be a parent and be a friend and a mom and a neighbor and a community supporter the way I wanted because I was sick in bed and suffering. So for me, the journey is a journey of empowerment and strength and not deprivation. And I believe it's because I love myself and I'm conscious, I'm awake.
So much of this comes out of the fruition of your positive mental state, and all of those good things I think come from that, because it's shifting perspective. Like, I can't eat all these foods to wait, well, what do you love better? Do you love feeling better, or do you miss that food? Or I mean, you're seeing it through a lens of positivity and self-love, and I think that is the genesis of anybody's successful health journey, don't you?
Yeah, and I mean, I wake up every day with joy. I mean, just so excited for the day. And before I would wake up with, I have to go through this mental and physical test of feeling my body, what was going to work, how many things was I going to have to cancel because clearly my body wasn't functioning. Like, I just can't believe that I don't have that anymore. And I really think that the mental shift is what created the space for me to be able to be a compliant Walls warrior, to be able to do yoga every day, to love my meditation practice and all of those things.
Speaking of your practices, could you share with the lovely people out there on Facebook what your morning ritual routine is? Because it's pretty amazing. So tell us about it.
Well, I wake up in the morning, and believe it or not, I like to wake up between 3 and 5 a.m. And I do go to bed between 7 and 8 p.m. to get enough sleep. But I like to wake up early because I like to do it with candles and essential oils. And first thing I do is I dance. And the reason why I dance like I'm at the club at 5 o'clock in the morning, I dance because it lets me like check in with my body so that I know when I get on the mat or when I do some self-myofascial release, rolling on balls and foam rollers, like where to pay some extra attention. And it also, nobody's ever crying or sad when they're dancing. So it also gets my mentals right. So I dance and then I get on the yoga mat and I do yoga to the sunrise. So I honor the day. I honor the sunrise. I listen to Cat Stevens and hippy dippy music that I love. And I just really sort of get into it. And then I have bulletproof coffee. And then from there, my day is just, really checking in with my body lets me know what I want to do. Because some days I might have, lots of things I want to do that really might be pushing my body. Like just coming back from the seminar, I've had to be very respectful. Yesterday I had to have 2 naps. Probably today I'm going to have at least a nap. So that dance routine and that time on my mat early morning really lets me to honor and respect my body.
It's amazing. Do you eat breakfast or you do intermittent fasting in the morning after that bulletproof coffee? What do you do?
Well, I do intermittent fasting because I always go at least 12 hours a night. So if my last thing I ate was at 8 p.m., then I won't eat until 8 a.m. And then I usually only have 2 meals a day. So now if I'm hungry, I will have 3 meals a day, but most days I'm not. So I do the bulletproof coffee and then I have my first meal sometime between 11 and 1. And then my second meal, ideally, I'd like to have it at 4 o'clock, but it's usually between 4 and 6.
Awesome.
And yeah, and then that's it.
Is there, if you had to pick one food and one supplement that's made a biggest impact in your life, what would it be?
Vitamin D and being consistent about taking it because that really affects my mentals and my physical. I get tired. I get sad. I really get hard to motivate with my vitamin D levels. And it's hard to get them right being someone that has MS. And food for me, it would have to be greens, because greens not only give me so much, like Dr. Walls is always like, hail to the kale, but it also keeps your gut like moving, and it just keeps everything going. And as someone who suffered from a lot of spasms, I think, making sure I have at least 3 cups of greens a day really helps with everything, across the board.
That's awesome. What's your healthy treat that maybe isn't like the best thing in the world, but it's still compliant to the way you want to treat your body? Do you have any of those in your life?
I do. I would say that it's eating Evolve dark chocolate that has coconut sugar as a sweetener would probably be my sort of special little treat.
Yeah, and we both talked about our occasional love for Simple Mills cookies.
Yeah, that's a whole box for me, though. I'm trying 100 days of none of that.
Yeah, so right. Tell people about you've obviously taken your health into major changes over the past years of your life, but this is like, you want to take it to the next level after you've done all the core stuff. You've healed your gut, you've healed inflammation levels in your body, balanced inflammation levels. Tell people about you giving your journey to giving up maple syrup and natural sugars.
Yeah, that was my health goal for 2017, was to give up all natural sugars, because maple syrup and honey specifically, because my body doesn't work as well when I have a lot of it, and I really don't seem to have as much control now that I'm conscious. So for me, it's just best to give it up. And I already know that my health goal in 2018 is to give up nuts, because I have a lot of allergy and mold issues, and I just don't think it's serving my body as well. So this journey of healing is a slow journey, because I've been conscious since 2012. Really, 2011 was when I gave up gluten. So it's been, regarding food, and I'm nice to myself. Rome wasn't built in a day, and I know I'll get there, and I just take one slow, sustainable step. Although they're hard to get, this is really hard, because I am a true addict to sugar, even natural sugar.
Yeah, I think a lot of people can relate to that, and it's easy when you try to eat clean to go for like the more natural sugars, but when you're ready, these are the things that people need to kind of consider. Is this serving me or sabotaging me in the long term?
I think it really does sabotage me, because of how I show my addictive tendencies when I'm eating only that food group, it lets me know that I have an unhealthy relationship with it, and there still is an addiction part. So to live my most conscious, best life, anything that presents like that, I have to overcome.
Yeah, that's great. And it's shifted something positive, because if you go to how can I be my best, you're more inclined to let go of these things that aren't serving you.
It's so true. And again, I don't feel deprived. I feel grateful that I get to serve my body, because it pays me rewards for all these steps I make. It's not like they don't go unrewarded. It'd be different if I wasn't rewarded, but I am.
Yeah, that's a great way of saying it. V, I love you. This has been an awesome conversation. It's too short. We need to actually have you come back again if you would love to do that. I would love you to be there.
Of course I would. And I love you too. And thank you for being such a big influence on my wellness journey, especially just yesterday, the cold brew versus just regular coffee. I found that so interesting, because I drink both. So yeah. You're always enlightening me. Thank you.
Thanks so much. I mean, you're an inspiration to me and our whole team here. They love you. They just adore you. And your beautiful dog.
Thank you. Yeah, Gidget's actually laying right here on the floor, being very sweet and quiet.
All right, well, I'll talk to you soon, and we'll have you back. Have a great day in sunny California.
Thank you, Will. Namaste to your whole team. I appreciate it.
Bye.
Bye.